Happy Black History Month, Bookish Besties. I come to you today with a recommendation video. I'm going to be recommending books written by Black authors because it's important to celebrate Black people's accomplishments always, but especially in Black History Month. Most of these are going to be romances, but I do have some historical fiction, some classics, some nonfiction, some YA. I tried to get variety with these recommendations so that everyone leaves here with at least one thing to read. The first recommendation, The Brown Sisters Trilogy by Talia Hibbert. I am not saving the best for last. I'm giving you the best rec first. Every book in this trilogy was a 5-star read for me. I read these over a year ago and I still think about them regularly. These books have me in a permanent chokehold. If you like rom-coms, read these. It's a trilogy, but each book can be read as a standalone, so if you're particularly interested in Take a Hint, Dani Brown, you can just read that one without having read the first one or the last one. It won't hinder your reading experience or anything like that. So Get a Life, Chloe Brown is about Chloe, obviously, and her landlord, Redford. She has a near-death experience and it sparks this desire in her to, quote-unquote, get a life. She wants to stop living like a hermit, so she makes a list of things she wants to do in her lifetime, and Red helps her achieve those goals. It's super wholesome and sweet and funny and cute. It's reverse grumpy sunshine, and there's chronic illness representation in this. And then Take a Hint, Dani Brown follows Chloe's sister, Dani Brown. Who would have thought, right? This one is my least favorite of the three, but I still adored it. This is set in an academic workplace. Dani is a professor and Zafir is, I don't remember what he does exactly, but he also works at the university. He has a crush on her, but times 10. He is down bad for her. He's utterly obsessed with her, but in a healthy, wholesome way. Not in a mafia, stalker, romance way, just to clear that up. And because he has a crush, when the alarm at the university goes off, he goes searching for her because, God forbid, something happened to her. He ends up carrying her bridal style out of the building, and people are filming the encounter, and they end up going viral. And then they fake date because it gives them good publicity, and Zafir has a charity that he runs that would benefit from the publicity. And while Zafir wants to be in a committed relationship with her, she is a commitment phobe, so they have to work through that. And that's basically the gist of this one. I think that covered all the important bits. And now on to my personal favorite, Actor A.G. Brown. This book brought me so much joy. Eve is job hunting, right? And she applies at this bed and breakfast owned by Jacob, the hero, and it's a disaster. Long story short, Eve hits him with her car and breaks his arm. Yep. If your job interview goes bad, I just want you to think about this book. It could be so much worse. And now that he can't use one of his arms, he needs extra help around the place. So he reluctantly hires Eve. It's enemies to lovers, it's grumpy sunshine, boss employee, workplace romance. Also, the banter in this one is so unmatched. So good. The banter in all these is really good, actually. So if you like good banter, highly recommend this one. Then we have The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. This is about these two people who get stuck on an elevator together and gets talking. Long story short, she ends up agreeing to be his fake date to a wedding, and during all of this, they find that they actually really like each other for realsies, so they navigate a long-distance relationship. I like that it did the whole long-distance storyline thing because that's not something we see much of in romance books, even though it's really common in real life. Don't let the Goodreads rating for this book scare you off because it's actually a pretty solid novel. I liked it. The Goodreads rating is pretty low. Not sure why it's so low, but everyone has their own opinion. Coach Me by Shanora Williams, who is gorgeous, by the way. She is so pretty. She has such a nice smile. And she has a nice book, too. Coach Me is a college coach-athlete romance. He is her track and field coach. This book does discuss racism and microaggression, so if you want a book that brings the romance and the heavy topics, I'd recommend this one. This is another one with a low Goodreads rating. Just give it a chance if you're interested by the plot. It's really not that bad. I don't understand why the rating is as low as it is. Lilac by B.B. Reed. This is a rock star romance. There's this band known as Bound, and one of their bandmates dies. That's not a spoiler, by the way. It happens right away. Their bandmate dies, so they need someone new. Their label or manager or whoever is in charge, I don't remember exactly. They recruit Braxton. The original guys are not happy with this change. They don't want her in the band, so there is some tension in the beginning, but this is a romance book, so you know what's gonna happen. They start to develop feelings, and then the question is, who will she choose? Or will she choose them all? Yeah, this one was delicious. Holding by Alexandria House. I just read this one. This is a second chance hockey romance told in dual timelines. The main characters are divorced in the current timeline and you get to go back and forth finding out what broke them apart and seeing how they rekindle their romance. I really like this. I like the mental health representation, and it's short. I've seen a lot of people complaining about how romance books are getting progressively longer, so if you want something short but still impactful, this is the one. Oh, and I also love the hero in this. He cares about Crystal so much, and it was just so nice to see such a sweetheart. How It Went Down by Kekla Magoon. We're moving away from the romance now. This is a young adult novel that primarily focuses on police brutality and the effects of that. A black teenage boy gets shot and killed by a police officer, and then we're following the people who knew him, people in the community. We even get the cops' perspective. It's really interesting because it's told in multiple perspectives, so you're getting a ton of different opinions and seeing all the different reactions and all the different ways a tragedy like this can affect people. I read this in 8th grade and I still think about it years later, so clearly it's had a significant impact on me. It was my favorite book for like 2 or 3 years. I really, really like this one and the way it was written. Even though this is mostly geared towards young people, I think anyone could read this and enjoy it. I think everyone could take something important out of this. Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyumidi. I'm sorry, I feel like I pronounced that wrong. I definitely did. I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. I tried to sound it out. This is my only other young adult rec. This is a thriller. If you're a fan of Get Out, I think you would appreciate this one. This is about 2 students who go to this super elite private school. They are the only black students, and they start getting threatening messages from this anonymous person online. This person, who goes by Aces, starts spilling their deepest, darkest secrets. It gives off very much Pretty Little Liars and Get Out vibes, so if you like either of those, I think you would like this. This is also sexually diverse, so if you want to read about LGBTQIA plus characters and you think the plot sounds interesting, I would give this one a go. Also, the cover is gorgeous. Did You Hear About Kitty Carr by Crystal Smith Paul. The author is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. If I didn't know she was an author, I think she was a model. She is stunning. Anyway, Did You Hear About Kitty Carr is a historical fiction novel about this black woman's rise to fame. It was just crazy reading about everything she had to give up to become a star. It's really, really interesting, and I think it can give people perspective as to the sacrifices people of color have to make it in society. Perfect Peace by Daniel Black. This is another historical fiction book. If you want to read about the intersectionality of race, gender, and sexuality, I highly recommend this one. I gave 5 stars. It hit so many important topics and it handled them incredibly well, in my opinion. It's about a mother who gives birth to a male, but she really wants a daughter. So she passed off this male as female, and then when the kid is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't remember the exact age, but it was somewhere around there, she reveals the truth about the child's sex, and this causes a whole lot of issues for everyone involved. The kid has to deal with bullying and ridicule and all this confusion about their body. The mother gets a lot of crap. The brothers are affected. The father doesn't know how to handle the situation. It's a lot for everyone, but this book is incredible. I loved it. It's one of the best historical fiction books I've ever read. It's very thought-provoking and well-written and sad. It made me cry. A few times, actually. Definitely check trigger warnings before going into this, though, because it does deal with a lot. There's abuse, homophobia, transphobia, and that's just naming a few. I would go on Storygraph and look at the triggers. But if you are mentally and emotionally okay to read this book, I would absolutely recommend it. The Watsons Go to Birmingham by Christopher Paul Curtis. Yet another 5-star read. I love this book so much. It's my all-time favorite classic. It's about this family that goes to Birmingham to visit their grandma, and while they're there, the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing happens. That doesn't happen until well into the book, though. In the beginning, it's just filled with funny childhood antics and family moments. It's really cute. It focuses a lot on the relationships within the family, mostly on the relationship between Kenny and Byron, the 2 brothers. I feel like it was a very realistic take on sibling relationships, the way they always fought, but they were there for each other when it really mattered. The bathroom scene between Byron and Kenny always makes me cry. It's so beautiful and sweet. I love this because it's lighthearted, but it still deals with heavy topics. It's a perfect medium, in my opinion. It deserves all the awards you see on the cover. Okay, now we're getting into the nonfiction. The Color of Water by James McBride. I saw James McBride won the Barnes & Noble's Best Book of the Year award for the Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. That's what it was. I almost forgot the title. I haven't read that one yet, but I did read this and I loved it. This is nonfiction, and every book after this is going to be nonfiction also. This is a memoir. It's about James's personal struggles growing up, his mother, his family. This was an emotional one. I sobbed at one point. It was really touching and candid. I'm not even a fan of nonfiction, and I appreciated this, if that's anything to go by. A Long Way Gone, Memoirs of a Boy Soldier by Ishmael Via. This is the heartbreaking story of a boy who was forced to become a child soldier during the conflict in Sierra Leone. It goes over the horrific things he had to witness and do and the trauma that came with all of that. It focused a lot on the trauma and the recovery and addiction. It is an incredible story. It really opens your eyes as to what happens in war. I've read a few books taking place during a war, but this is one of the only ones that doesn't shy away from the gruesome details. It's very insightful, and if you're interested, I would definitely encourage you to pick this one up. This is the last one, I believe. Can We Get Along by Paula D. McLean and Jessica D. Johnson Carew. This is another nonfiction book. This one isn't a memoir, though. It's about minority politics. It kind of reads like a textbook, which that makes it sound boring, but it's not. Not if you're into reading about this sort of thing. I thought it was interesting. A lot of the facts were really shocking and eye-opening if you want to learn more about the history and current state of how people of color are treated in the political world. I think you would like this. It's really interesting. This is the last recommendation I have. So I hope you all loved your at least one thing to read. That was my goal. Have a good one.